Hello everybody, and welcome to a new spoiler warning featuring in-depth and quite exclusive news on CM Punk and the Backstage altercation that's already been reported, but with a lot more detail as to what was happening backstage at AEW All Out. We will also have some more information as to Braun Strowman's impending arrival that's already up in the Discord, but has not yet appeared out there in the great wide world. So, plenty to share. We will of course be answering any questions that you have, and I'd imagine quite a lot of people have questions. So let's jump right in. My name is Tom Colohue and this is Spoiler Warning. Firstly, CM Punk went a little bit rogue in the All Out post-match press conference. Now, he aimed a lot of comments about the EVPs, that being your Kenny Omegas, the Young Bucks, and Chris Jericho, and also Tony Khan himself took a bit of a beating without necessarily reacting to it. Also spareful for Hangman Page and Colt Cabana, who were called out by name by CM Punk. Now, as you might imagine, a lot of people backstage very unhappy with what happened in that scrum. Hangman Page was not apparently there at the time to defend himself, has had words since and essentially been told, try to stay calm. He's been told to try to stay calm. However, he was not the first person to get to CM Punk. You see, 3 people were waiting for CM Punk as he finished his scrum and went to the back, that being Kenny Omega and both the Jacksons of the Young Bucks. We did have, let's just say words, CM Punk threw the first punch, and from what I've heard, no punches actually landed between them. A lot of people moving very quickly to get them apart. From what I can tell, a lot of security was required. Lots of things were shouted. None of it actually made it to air, but it took 7 or 8 different members of the security team to break them up, to the point, of course, that they had to call in reinforcements. When Tony Khan got backstage after the press conference, he was confronted with quite a scene to sort out. CM Punk had already gone by that point and had walked away from the situation, but my word, had things gone a little bit insane. Kenny Omega personally is believed to be offended by this as much as anyone else. He does believe a lot of it was aimed at him, and he's very defensive of Hangman Page. As I said, Hangman Page himself has not had an opportunity to speak to CM Punk as of yet, but that moment is definitely coming. Tony Khan has a mission ahead of him, has a real mission ahead of him. He now has to make a decision as to what to do in this situation. He's set the terms with Eddie Kingston, but that does not mean that that's how it's going to play for CM Punk. CM Punk is the champion, and CM Punk is also a flight risk, as we know. Now, as regards the plan for the match and the forward feud, I have been speaking about the handshake deal for Jon Moxley. The reason he won the match against CM Punk on Dynamite was essentially to ensure that his AEW Championship reign was legitimised, basically confirming that it actually happened, and would go down in the history books. From what I can tell, the handshake deal comes to an end within the next few days. This means either Jon Moxley needs to sign a new deal now, or he will not be remaining in AEW. As regards MJF, I have been speaking about MJF and the ongoing negotiations. I did see reports out there that nobody had spoken to MJF since he walked out of his promo. To my knowledge, that has not been the case. There has been a constant communication, and I do believe his return during All Out is proof that that is what has happened. The reports that he had not spoken to anyone came from the same person who spoke about the plane journeys and the planes booked and the planes not booked. So as regards MJF, I would say stick to the people who've so far been proven right on it. There's plenty of questions coming in. I want to make sure to answer them because quite a few of them actually relate to news that I have. So let's jump into it. Firstly, I do want to say a thank you to Jermaine Presley, who starts off with such a lovely thing to say. Thank you kindly, Jermaine. I'm trying my best. I did work quite hard for this one, but I appreciate that support. Jermaine also says, I would say since MJF came back last night, haven't spoken yet. Would WWE counteract that by having Sasha come back tonight or tomorrow night and speak first, then have Naomi join her this Friday? No, there is no intention by the WWE to counteract anything that AEW is doing, because to be completely blunt, Triple H doesn't care about what AEW are doing. He's not really paying much attention to it. He's just doing his own thing. AEW have not been considered a threat to the WWE by the WWE at any point, and with the way that they are right now, that doesn't seem likely to change. I see Tom Talks Rubbish is in the chat. You may see my pinned comment on YouTube is a video from Tom Talks Rubbish in which he interviews my good self about freelance journalism and working on YouTube in this particular style. I do advise everyone to check it out. I'll continue to plug it for the next couple of weeks, but I do advise people to check it once the show comes to an end. Traffic says, good evening, Tom. Hope you're having a good one. I am indeed, thank you. Must say I've been waiting for this. Your reliable track record is amazing. I've been waiting to hear from you about an inside news. Plenty of stuff to talk about here. More than just who threw the first punch there. We are waiting to hear more from Kenny Omega, who does feel personally slighted to my knowledge. Thank you as well for the kind words there. George Marshall says, saw you ask your question at the Clash of the Castle media scrum. I was happy to see that. I guarantee you didn't, because I was not at the media scrum. I was right here in this office streaming a post-show for PWTorch. Lauren says, are we ready for the hot tea? Because you know Tom's got something juicy for us. Have I ever let you down? Have I ever let you down? Austin Palmiter says, is it safe to say Malakai Black is done after all that last night? Malakai Black did ask for his release. It was rejected. He has been saying goodbye to people backstage after All Out. It is believed that he will now be leaving the company. Richard Smith says, hello Tom and all. Welcome, mate. And King's Andy says, any Sasha updates? Not at this point. The last update that I had, I expected to be returning very, very soon, either tonight or on Friday. To my knowledge, both of them have agreed to return. They have been added to the internal roster. Creative have been working on something for them. I expect to see them shortly. Link to that, of course, Spider Boss on the Twitch side says, any chance we see Sasha and Naomi this week? Barry says, hello everyone, here for the start for once. Welcome, Barry. Great to see you, mate. Spider-Boss says, I enjoyed Clash of the Castle this weekend. I do think it was a fantastic show, and for me, the best one of the weekend. Spider-Boss says, I think MJF's return was overshadowed by CM Punk's controversy. It absolutely was. I spent a long time on Twitter reading about CM Punk, and then realised about an hour later that, oh my god, MJF came back. What happened there? New Welcome says, hello Tom, this Saturday and yesterday has been crazy. It has been a hell of a time to be a wrestling fan. One hell of a time to be a wrestling fan indeed. Chauncey, welcome, mate. So Jizzle says, evening Tom, Mox still on that handshake deal ending this week. Last night felt like it could have been a write-off. That is exactly what I reported, and that is exactly what I was expecting. I believe I've been keeping everyone up to date on that one. It is now or never as regards John Moxley. Lawrence says, are Moxley and Cabana on good terms? Because Moxley has more money on the table very possibly than Punk. If we can figure out where Jericho and Mox stand, that's the majority of the money. Chris Jericho is not necessarily supportive of CM Punk. Chris Jericho was one of the people that CM Punk was mentioning and targeting when he mentioned people leaking to the dirt sheets. Chris Jericho, to my knowledge, is not at all happy with what happened during that scrum. As regards Moxley and Cabana, to my knowledge, they don't really know each other all that well. They've encountered each other a couple of times, get on relatively okay. Also, we're going to be totally cool hearing on this, except Punk. Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to say who's to blame because a lot of what Punk said has been proven accurate pretty consistently. A lot of what he's saying is absolutely, provably correct. I just want to be very clear on that one. Absolutely, provably correct. However, I do have to say that probably wasn't the format to do so. Hi Michael, how you doing, mate? Spider-Boss says, my question is, did Tony Khan take off the AEW Women's title from Thunder Rosa due to Britt's backstage games? Nope. He took it off Thunder Rosa because she's injured. Michael says, Punk is not worth it in 2022. I said the word flight risk when he signed. I've stood by it. Ooh, Thunder and Lightning. Thank you, Barry. I'm excited for that. Very excited for that. No worries, George. No worries. Maybe I have a doppelganger out there. I'll have to find out. Austin says, sounds like AEW is a mess right now. Backstage, it is. Tony Khan needs to sort this out and sort it out quickly. Spider-Boss also asking, did Malakai Black leave AEW after his match last night? He is saying goodbye to people backstage in AEW. I doubt it to work. My expectation is that he is leaving the company now. Chauncey says, John Moxley is going back to WWE soon. We are certainly closer to that happening now than we have been for a very, very long time. Kieran says, I love the way they introduced MJF last night. Hearing Tony Khan's voice message was cool. It was indeed, and it was different, you know. Douglas, welcome, says, maybe Hangman leaves AEW soon. I doubt that. I think CM Punk is a lot more likely to leave than Hangman Page is. Simon says, when is one of the world titles coming off of Roman? Soon. Rodney says, do all of the EVPs own AEW? No, they do not. Only Tony Khan is in charge of AEW. As regards the owner, that's his dad. Simon says, congrats to the Elite, Kenny and the Bucks on becoming the very first AEW Trios World Tag Team Champions. I don't believe for a second that Tony Khan would choose CM Punk over Kenny Omega. However, during that press conference, he did. In choosing to do nothing, he did offend a lot of people backstage. There are a lot of people in AEW right now who are simply not happy with the leadership of Tony Khan. While I've got you, please remember to hit that thumbs up. We have 23 likes and 65 viewers, so if we can get a couple more in there, you'll see that viewership grow. And before you know it, Tom Colohue will have more subscribers rolling in, and I may be able to do more shows. I may be able to get more news, and I may be able to do this full time. So please do consider hitting that thumbs up. It really is that easy to get some new people here and to get people watching. Thomas says, any news on Malakai Black? Indeed, I've just covered that. Noob says that press conference last night was crazy, but Punk needs to keep his personal problems behind the scenes and not saying it in front of the press. He very specifically wanted it in front of cameras. That was very clear. Stuart says, evening Tom, been a good weekend of wrestling. Completely agree. We've had 3 fantastic wrestling shows worth every second of watching. Richard says, I believe Tony Khan's arrogance will be AEW's downfall. I did see him say that there'd been 100 million coming in recently. He didn't say if it was profit or not. To my knowledge, still not making profit. Kieran says, as much as MJF pretends he hates this, he still remembers to wipe his feet before he gets in the ring out of respect. To be clear, that is showing respect for your fellow performers. It's got nothing to do with management, which is where he has the problem. Jaden says, hey Tom, welcome mate. Razar says, will there be any follow-up to the tag titles finals from last week? Will they address the finish about Dakota not being the legal person tagged in? Yes, they will. That will be a key storyline going into tonight's Raw. You haven't subscribed for good, Simon. Shameful. For those who have subscribed, remember to hit that bell. There's going to be a few videos coming over the next few weeks. The last videos did really well. We got about 400 views on the Bray Wyatt one. We got about 400 views on the predictions show. I'm really happy with that, considering the level of channel we have right now. 400 is incredible. And I really hope that we're able to continue achieving that. So there'll be a few more videos coming. And if you haven't hit that bell, please consider doing so. And thank you for everyone who just hit like. We just gained 8 likes, which is pretty impressive. Jaden's very excited for Sasha's return. AW fan, welcome. Says Tony Khan's so worried about WWE running shows that did not affect them, then controlling his roster. No, I agree. That's always been the case of AW, though. Always been the case. Simon says, is Roman working the Saudi Arabia Crown Jewel pay-per-view? In interviews, he has suggested that he will be, so I do suspect so. Michael says Tony Khan does not seem like the guy for the job anymore. They need more structured management. I don't think he actually has manager in him. Ghost says, while I feel that fans do not need to speak on whatever situations are happening with CM Punk, surely there has to be some consequence for this lack of professionalism. He very much chose the moment. Very much chose that moment to do that, and I have serious questions about it. Sounds good, Tom. Tom Talks Rubbish says, thank you so much for your kind words and pinning it. Would love to do something again in the future. Absolutely, I'd love to do that. One thing I will say, though, looking at the title of the video, I'd have a look at the title again. Also, the link that you posted in your tweet goes to an unlisted video that I don't believe is mine. KJ, welcome, mate. Says, what's up, Tom? Who'd you say was coming back when you kicked off the show? Sorry, I missed it. Depends what you mean by coming back. MJF came back, and I was talking about the possibility of John Moxley and, of course, Aleister Black returning, given that, we're very close to the end of one of their contracts, and the other one seems like it's expiring quicker than they anticipated. Thomas, welcome, says, hi, Tom. Surely MJF can't be the face as they presented him as hating the fans, but you now can't have CM Punk as a face after this. What do you see happening now? I see CM Punk fans cheering CM Punk and MJF fans cheering MJF. This is going to be very, very awkward. That's all I'll say. Richard says, Clash was excellent. The wrong winners won the unification matches at Worlds Collide. I agree with that. Traffic says, a little off subject, maybe you have also heard about Roman not wrestling for possibly months. November he will be returning. Austin says, sounds like WWE getting better, AEW having the problems. Boy, how the tables have turned. Indeed. David Leary says, Triple H interested in bringing back Moxley? Yes, 100% yes, absolutely. Code says, I'm guessing Toxic Attraction are staying on NXT after Mandy's win. Yes, but I would still expect to see the tag team of JC Jane and Gigi Dolan involved. Yet the tables, welcome Tony mate, says, in your opinion, should Khan step in when he was getting real personal? Seemed Khan looked super uncomfortable. I think he should have. I think he should have had a grip on this beforehand, and I think as a leader, there are times when you have to step in and shut it down. However, CM Punk is CM Punk. You risk things getting a lot worse if you try and keep him quiet. He's a flight risk. He's very volatile. You knew this when you were getting into it. Noob says, your thoughts on Tony Storm saying that Thunder Rosa is legit injured? Well, they lost a lot of control last night, didn't they? Spider-Boss says, I hope to see Sasha Naomi return soon. Me too. AEW fan says, maybe Taz should think back to that sloppy shop comment. At the time, that was accurate. At the time. Knight Rider just says, soon. Simon says, the young up-and-coming superstar of the future, Y2J, getting put over once again in AEW. He picks his moments, and I think he does a good job. Someone needs to be the guy to beat in there, and he's perfect in that role. AEW fan says, who knew hugging so many people could come back and bite you? Well, that's why Bailey changed. KJ says, why is everyone saying Moxley to WWE? What happens if he pissed at Punk too? No, Moxley is not currently under AEW contract to my knowledge. He's working on a handshake extension that expires within the next few days. Again, to my knowledge. Ross says, looking forward to this. The flight risk is out of control. I like that people using the word flight risk now. That's my thing. It's partly deliberate. People are definitely talking, watching All Out just now while listening to this. Hopefully you enjoy it. The wrestling quality was still good. It's sort of overshadowed by all the drama. Sort of. The Diddle says, is Mako sticking around on NXT or maybe visiting the main roster? Mako, to my knowledge, has been offered a training and coaching position in the Performance Center for NXT main. AEW fan says Cody should open roll with a video cigar in mouth and say, what do you all want to talk about? He will not be appearing until he has been cleared. Will says, when it comes to Triple H, of all the wrestlers who came back and who will come back, is the trust and respect goes that deep. There's a lot of people still have a lot of respect. Mentioned John Moxley there. That is certainly something to keep an eye on. Get the Table says, off topic and I apologise. No need to apologise. Off topic is absolutely fine, Tony. You can always jump in and ask whatever you want. What was your match of the weekend? Sheamus versus Gunter. It is exactly what I expected to be my match of the weekend. I'll tell you that as well. Hi Sean, how you doing? Ross says, should we assume MJF has signed a new deal or still on the current deal? We should assume that he has signed a new deal, but we cannot confirm so. He wanted a new deal before he was going to return. Unless he's changed his mind, he has signed a new deal. Simon says, everybody says Hangman is the most nicest people backstage from stories from other people in AEW. To my knowledge, that is very much the case, yeah. Agreed to Jizzle. Kingsander says, I watched one episode of AEW, which ironically was Punk's debut, and I know very little about Khan, but he just seems like a jerk. Well, that might be the impression you get. It's worth pointing out, obviously, none of us here know him. He may just be very stressed by the situation. Oh, paid membership. Gotcha, Simon. You realise that you're not currently a paid member, right? Bailey says, who's the next opponent for Gunter? Not sure. I think we may be getting a 6-man tag between Fight Night and Imperium. I'm very excited for that as a concept. Spider-Boss says, I think we get Io and Dakota versus Aaliyah and Raquel rematch soon, and maybe after that, Sasha and Naomi return. So you think exactly what I think. Richard says, delighted for you, Tony. Love your channel. We do too. We do. Austin says, sound like Tony Khan was pissed about WWE being on the same weekend. He very much was. Spider-Boss says, is it me or AEW looks as a modern WCW? There are comparisons. It's not the same, but there are definitely comparisons. Looking at Rampage to Thunder and so on and so forth. John says, will Raquel and Aaliyah be on Raw tonight? I've not personally heard whether or not they are in attendance. AEW fan says, do you think the offer from another company story about Bray is a detour in the eventual WWE return? I haven't heard anything about another company offering something to Bray Wyatt. Yeah, Kieran, I'm weird. I used to have a lot of nosebleeds as a kid, so now if I actually do sneeze, blood will come out. So I decide not to. Sean says, who's the next challenger for Liv? I don't believe we have finished with Shayna. Though it could be Charlotte, could be Ronda. Rizal says, I don't watch AEW, but all this backstage drama is crazy. Not surprising, I think the creative freedom leads to drama. Structure is important. To be clear, if CM Punk had stayed in WWE, this is the CM Punk we would have gotten. Kieran says, I hope MJF actually beats Punk for the title, as the first guy to challenge a new champ never beats them. Very, very true. It would be a lot of back and forth, a bit of hot potato, which is not something they've done before. However, wouldn't hate it. Jaden says, Tom, I hope you make more of those videos. I love the Bray video. You should make it a series where you look back at wrestlers' careers where it went wrong. I could do that. That's a fair point. I could consider that. The Bray Wyatt video did take more than a week to research and script, and that's with a lot of research from before the fact, so I may not be able to do all of that. Yes, Sam, and MJF is a new challenger. KJ says, you say creative, we're preparing plans for the two and are expecting them back soon. Oh, right, that is Sasha and Naomi. Spider-Boss says, I see MJF as the anti-hero that will beat Punk for the title. Punk, though, is the anti-hero. That's his whole shtick. AEW fan says, if Roman out for a while now, WWE need a way to get the title from Roman. I completely agree. Byron says, do you think we see Braun Strowman tonight? He is there, to my knowledge. He has been requested to be in attendance at Monday Night Raw. He is not listed on the internal rundown because the WWE are fully aware that the internal rundowns recently have been getting leaked. So they've been intentionally hiding things and putting the wrong information. This, by the way, is why Fightful have been getting so many things wrong recently. They've literally been fed the wrong information. Simon says, Dave Meltzer did say today that Roman would be working Crown Jewel pay-per-view. Roman himself suggested that he would be doing so. Michael says that the main roster and NXT Women's Tag Team titles getting unified, it really only makes sense. I would like it. I don't necessarily think it will happen. There are a lot of women in NXT which don't have many to fight for. And under Vince, I think it would have happened. Under Triple H, not so much. James says you could have Moxley walk and beat Reigns as he has leveled up since he left. I do feel if Jon Moxley does return to the WWE, that is who will be taking the championship from Roman Reigns. They'll forget Cody, at least until Seth Rollins versus Cody can return around WrestleMania time. But if Jon Moxley walks in, he walks out as champion. Like, I could see that as a Royal Rumble return. I very much could. That is, of course, depending on if he signs a new deal for AEW. Lauren says, once Kenny Omega came back and they put the title back on Moxley, the ratings for Dynamite started crossing the million mark again. Will that hold more weight than CM Punk going Goblin mode? People will definitely tune into Dynamite in this upcoming week to see what the backlash is. Like, a lot of people will be tuning in purely for that reason. So I think we'll see a temporary boost and then it will settle back down to the 900,000 mark. Not a surprise for me. King Andy says, last night JC alluded to the women's tag titles being unified, which I fully support. Best way to get NXT women on the main roster without calling them up. I agree. I do think that's exactly what should happen. Sean says, JC said in a promo at Worlds Collide her and yep, okay. Yep, I already answered that one. Jaden says, do you have any news on Charlotte's return? I want her back. She's cleared. She's waiting. But because they pivoted to Liv Morgan being champion, they're keeping her separate for now. Barry says, I thought from day one of AEW, having a fan with too much money is not a blueprint for success. I'd not be surprised if he's struck with his childhood heroes. I don't think that's fair, because while there are problems with it now, AEW has been running for quite a few years, and it has been successful. Not financially successful, but it has been successful. AEW fan says, physically assaulting EVPs surely has to involve some discipline. I completely agree. Completely agree. Billy says, just bringing Mickey Gall and he'll shut Punk up. Richard says, Candice LeRae being shown the way. The way. Kieran says, last night on Tony Khan voice message, it said he didn't ask MJF to sign a contract extension, so does that mean he didn't sign a new deal then? The word extension should be paid attention to there. A new deal is not a contract extension. AW fan says, is it just me or does it feel like another bombshell is coming, like someone big leaving or jumping ship? It may think that. That's because that's true. Baron says, do you think we see Braun Strowman? Yes, I do. Camo, welcome mate, says the same. Spider-Boss says, UK crowd chanting, hey Bailey, I want to know if you want to be my girl, was so sweet. It was. We knew it was coming. I never get bored of it. Absolutely right, Knight Rider. Loved Bailey. Serge Jizzle says, Gunter versus Sheamus are outstanding. After the Imperium versus Brutes match, I think there's life in babyface Sheamus versus Roman and the Bloodline. I wholeheartedly agree. I want Sheamus to get that moment. The Royal Rumble would be perfect. Spider-Boss says, why Mandy won at Worlds Collide? She was told to. Michael says, there's a reason why NXT was on before AEW last night. I don't get why Tony was so upset. It only prevented the viewers to be split between the two. Yeah, admittedly they were on the same day, but they got out of AEW's way. You can't really ask for more. Simon says, is Sheamus a babyface? Do you see him bringing back written in my face is classic old theme. Nope, he is not a babyface. He was temporarily a babyface in the UK. Unless they choose to pivot tonight, I don't see that one happening. Tom, I'm not saying the title was wrong. Just have a look at it. You might spot what I'm going for. Dominik says, hi Tom, who's Roman's next opponent? At the moment, nobody. They have not set anyone up, but Sami Zayn is in question. He just can't go to Saudi Arabia, so I think it might be Kevin Owens again. Who can tell? AEW says, CM Punk buried everyone while eating muffins. Who knew who was the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man? The Muffin Man! We have 72 viewers and 42 likes. Please do remember, pardon me, to hit that thumbs up. I very much appreciate it. It brings more viewers to the channel, and more viewers means more potential subscribers. We are currently at 1,552 and counting. There we go, Tom. There we go, Tom. That's what I was hinting at. Yes. Austin says, where does Shayna go from here? Saturday was such a good showing. It was a good showing. She needs to get stronger. I think her and Ronda now team up and essentially bully Liv Morgan further. Liv Morgan then needs backup. I don't know who that backup will be because there's not many faces on that side. Maybe a call-up. Ross says, I'm a WWE fan first. I dip in and out of AEW, although I enjoy their pay-per-views. I'm very much the same. Jaden says, maybe you could do it when you go full-time one day. If I'm ever able to go full-time, there will be a lot more videos. I promise you that. Razar says, what did you think about Dominik turning on Ray? I actually liked it. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but I actually really liked it. I think it was very well delivered. There was lots of Eddie Guerrero throwbacks, which we spoke about on Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. We predicted that element to it, and I think he delivered very well. The fact that he doesn't seem to be joining Judgment Day is a good thing. He gets to stand alone. We are building towards a WrestleMania match between Ray and Dominik Mysterio. I'm happy for it. Hector says, Tony Khan gives me spoiled daddy's boy vibes, and it's more evident now. He just seems to think things will be given to him. Things should always go his way. When they don't, he seems to make a scene. Talked about saying nice things about WWE, but then not as much, but he's taken shot after shot at WWE, so not sure what he expects. I've read what you've said there. I don't agree with all of it, but I also don't not agree. Will says, do you have any update on Triple H signing any more women to the company? Well, Candice LeRae may be shown the way. Also keep an eye for Ember Moon. Candice LeRae shown the way. Spider-Boss says, Roman saying acknowledged me in his press conference and walked out was damn good. It was. Great for the reporter there just saying, yeah, I acknowledge you. He's a big dude, Alex McCarthy. Wasn't a great moment for him. Ghost says, I just have no clue why Tony let Punk talk like that for almost 30 minutes. The media scrum was a mess as a whole, and if someone doesn't take the reins, AEW will only become worse and worse on an internal aspect. That is definitely what is happening right now. Tony Khan has the gauntlet thrown down before him. He, at this point, needs to work out what he's going to do. He needs to get some control, and he needs it fast. Thomas says, do you believe that Moxley would return with the same music that he has in AEW and the same type of character? Yeah, that's exactly what I expect. Exactly. AEW fan says, worth noting Toxic Attraction said in the pre-show. Yep, I've already read that one. Richard says, any word on when Jade Cargill will drop the title? As soon as there is a credible challenger, Jade Cargill will drop the championship. So quite possibly never. Mandy Rose fan says, how high are officials on Mandy? Very, very high. Triple H is a very big fan. She's done incredible work since returning to NXT. A main roster call-up has a lot of good stuff ahead of it. Spider-Boss says, controversy makes people watch the show and AEW may benefit from that. They may, I suspect they will. Code says, do you think Liv will make it to Survivor Series or Ronda? I think Liv will make it to Survivor Series. It is easier for a Bayley or a Bianca to beat Liv than it is to beat Ronda Rousey. Sean says, how much longer does Liv Morgan stay champ? I suspect after Survivor Series. AEW fans says, I love the touch of Toxic Attraction calling themselves the uncrowned champs. They're right, they never lost. Usually things like that result in storylines. Spider-Boss says, do you see Thunder Rosa jumping to WWE? Not at this point in time, she is under contract. Wrestler fan says, can we expect more returns after Braun potentially returns tonight? Yes, there are plenty more returns coming. Plenty more returns. AEW fan says, I hope WWE does a fake media scrum angle tonight. Seth would be perfect for that. Seth undoubtedly will want to do something like that. That's very much in his wheelhouse. Sean says, did you see the hit list that BT Sport put out about everyone Roman has beaten during his reign? No Seth on that list. That's because he hasn't beat them. KJ says, all this backstage drama, is it possible Cody might have had a bigger influence backstage than we knew? Yes. Yes, indeed. Particularly on the younger talent. Cody did have a very positive effect. However, those days are gone. Those days are very much just gone at this point, unfortunately, for AEW. They do need to find more of a structure going forwards. Jonesy says, I think Dakota Kai and Io Sky will be attacked, setting up the storyline of them. Would be a lot of fun. Sean says, not surprised Punk won the title back. We did expect it. Just surprised Britt didn't win the belt again. I very much expected Tony Storm to win it. Simon says, is the USA Network's Raw going to be doing something about the WWE title very soon to get it back on Raw? There are already discussions and negotiations as to what to do with the WWE Championship. It is not up to the USA Network. It is up to Triple H. Knight Rider hopes Edge's balls are okay. That's someone who cares. Spider-Boss says, Rhea's reaction to Dominik's heel turn was priceless. All of Judgment Day reacted beautifully to that moment. Simon absolutely loved the Dominik turn. DC says, sorry for being late. No need to be sorry, mate. Welcome to the show. Have you talked about how divided the AEW locker room is at this time? Yes, I have. To recap, because we're half hour through now, CM Punk offended a hell of a lot of people, and so did Tony Khan for not stopping CM Punk last night. Kenny Omega and the Bucks were waiting for him as CM Punk returned to the back. CM Punk threw the first punch, but it took 7 or 8 security officials to get them apart, including the one who had to run across the actual scrum. There is more to this. Hangman Page has not encountered CM Punk yet. Dynamite is where it looks like it's all going to kick off. Tony Khan at this point trying to work out what to do next. Nothing official has actually happened. Sean says, what brand does Legado go to? Hopefully SmackDown, because they desperately need people and everyone's going to Raw. Austin says, I see a heel turn of Raquel. I don't see that personally. There's no faces on the women's division of SmackDown. They need them. Billy says, Dominik versus Rey Mysterio in a retirement match. Very possibly. Spider-Boss says, I hope we hear soon it's boss time. A lot of people saying the exact same thing there. Sean says maybe Dominik joins Legado del Fantasma when they are called up. This was suggested in this chat a couple of days ago, and I actually really like the idea. I really like it. Kieran says AEW may be a mess, but it's great entertainment for us. Yeah, and to be honest, when WWE was a mess, that was also great entertainment for us. Carnage is carnage. That's a good thing. Thomas says, hi Tom, I personally loved all the matches this week. Felt that a lot of AEW matches are very predictable. You say that, but I did correctly predict all of the Clash at the Castle matches. You say that. Byron says, do you think we could see a Tegan Nox return? Nope. Camel says there's a good possibility that Moxley returns. Once again, to my knowledge, he was working on a handshake deal that expires in the next couple of days. It is up to him now whether he signs a new deal with AEW. To my knowledge, Tony Khan, I'm going to be blunt here, cannot afford to keep paying him $6 million because AEW has still not made a profit. The low blow did look legit, Knight Rider. Edge does typically wear a cup. Tom says, what would Mox's name be though? Very much John Moxley. I've said this on Twitter and I'm very happy to say it again. Triple H is not interested in Dean Ambrose. He is interested in John Moxley. That was also true of Vince after seeing the man in action unchained. I've already spoken about Strowman. He is expected to return. Hector says, I feel like this is a bad time for things to go off the rails for AEW with the Warner Discovery negotiations currently going on. Love to be a fly on the wall during those conversations with Tony and the latter. You say that, but it's also very possible that this will result in better ratings, which will be good for the networks. They'll be happy with that. Chauncey, I don't know why you think that. That's bold. That's bold. AEW fan says, I'd love to see Braun show up and rip the cage apart. What cage? Braun Strowman would be really good in a War Games match, wouldn't he? We currently have 50 likes and 110 viewers. Please do hit that thumbs up if you've not done so already, and subscribe if you haven't as well. We are currently on 1,552 subscribers and looking to get as many as possible so that your boy Tom can go full time. If I can go full time, I can report on these things in much closer to real time. I can be live pretty much all of the time when a big news story breaks, and I can get more information faster. Vegeta's absolutely right. The guy who's just an terrible troll. You've given up as well. It's shameful. Simon says, I won't mention the disgusting accusation on Twitter about Mandy and HBK. Okay, well, you just did. So if you want to not comment, then don't comment. Richard says, I can't be the only one who believes Mandy did nothing for NXT. Certainly I don't agree with that personally. Jermaine says, I have a feeling that Drew losing the carrying cross of Extreme Rules will be a way to get him off TV to heal his injuries. I've said exactly the same on that one. Spider-Boss says, I guess Cody was the one holding all in AEW. He wasn't holding all. Absolutely not. I'm going to be completely honest. This was always coming with CM Punk. Always. Okay, AEW fan, I saw your message and I've deleted those comments. People were having fun with it, but if anyone's annoyed, I will just get rid of someone. Like, if anyone's actually showing annoyance, there's no point keeping a troll around. Joey says, why are they doing a fatal four-way tag team match tonight when they're setting up KO and Sammy to go after the tag titles? Well, because KO and Sammy still need to actually have a storyline. So they've got to do something, at least for now, for Extreme Rules. AEW fan says, do you think Black would return to WWE and be a singles because the last faction he did was a flop? Yeah, he would be a singles wrestler if he returned. Timothy, not technically true. USA do, they absolutely do pay the bills, as it were, but there are limitations to that. USA don't get to choose creative. They don't get to choose the storyline. They don't have that. Spider-Boss says, Eddie Guerrero would be proud of Dominik after the turn on Ray. He would, and so would Batista. There were so many little comparisons to previous heel turns. Like, next I'm expecting Rey Mysterio to be strapped to a stretcher and just get thrown into the ring post or something. You know, it'll just be fun. It'll just be fun. Jermaine says, the Saudi Arabia show, Roman Reigns will lose the title to carry across because of tons of outside of interference. Just a hunch. Personally, can't see that myself. AEW fans says supposedly Ace Steel bit Kenny Omega. Sure. Joey says Malakai Black leaving AEW or just taking time off. He has been speaking to people backstage and saying goodbye. He did request his release. It was denied at the time. That doesn't mean it will continue to be so. Spider-Boss says, I see Raquel and Lira as transitional champions. So does everybody, mate. Vegeta says, AEW is fine, but a lot of turmoil. They still provided a lot of quality wrestling. They are still very worth having, and I feel a very good show. There's a lot going on backstage, admittedly, but good wrestling is good wrestling. Ross says, do you think we'll get Ray vs Dominik for WrestleMania, or do you think it'll be before? I think it'll be at WrestleMania. Spider-Boss says, I went almost perfect in my predictions. I got 6 out of 6. We can't say it's not predictable, but predictable is not necessarily a bad thing. Sean says, when does Queen Zelina return? When she is fit to do so. Hair versus mask. Oh, Knight Rider, that's a wonderful idea. Wonderful idea. Sean Ireland, welcome, says that would be amazing if Dominik makes people believe he's joining Judgment Day and he swerves us and joins Legado. That would be fun and a great feud. Welcome to the show and thank you for subscribing, Monique White. Thank you very much for joining. You'll get notifications every time we go live and for videos such as the Bray Wyatt one. And for anyone who is interested in the process here, for example, the reason why I do independent journalism, my pinned comment here on the YouTube side is a link to an interview with me by Tom Talks Wrestling, who's in the chat as we speak at the moment. You may want to check that out and see what more you can find out. Sean says, if it's true that Kenny did threaten to leave AEW, who said that happened, does he go back to Japan or get a call from Cody telling him to come over? Neither. If he was leaving, he would probably go back to New Japan. However, I don't see him leaving. I don't understand why. Like, who reported that? AEW fan says, I think the lesson learned with Dominik is he's moody. Well, I suspect we're about to see him lie, cheat and steal. Mr. Wardy says, wrestling interest is at its highest in the last 15 years at least. I agree there, and I think a lot of that is down to AEW. Now, admittedly, the return of Triple H in a creative capacity has galvanised things there, but you also have to just celebrate the fact that there's a lot of good wrestling right now. John Horton says, the Elite will be sitting on Raw like the Radicals back in the day. Don't tempt me, that would be amazing. Amazing. I do, Simon, sometimes, I gotta be honest, when I'm dropping hints, it is speculation. Just throwing that out there. I just want to be clear. Mike Games, thank you very much for subscribing on the YouTube side. Welcome to the chat. We are an Ask Me Anything chat. If you want to ask questions, jump on in. You'll get a notification every time we go live. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. Simon, I've spoken about Sasha and Naomi. I've shared everything I know. Spider-Boss says, is it true that the Elite wanted to leave AEW last night? Not to my knowledge, no. Knight Rider says, will we get new Raw and SmackDown GMs? I don't think so, no. Jaden says, how many subscribers do you need to go full-time? It's not directly related to subscribers. Technically, once you're at 1,000 subscribers don't matter, as it were, in the actual numerics. It's more a case of seeing the actual income and the like. I think once I get to a point of about 10,000, I could take the risk. But that is a guideline amount. At the moment, with energy prices what they are, the earnings from YouTube are being swallowed up entirely. So it's not great. Cameron says, who are you looking forward to Roman facing next and who dethrones him? I think Sheamus will be next. I think Seth dethrones him, but I don't think he's the only one to dethrone him. Vegeta says, Lashley versus Miz is in a cage tonight. Well, I do think Braun versus Lashley is a plan, so that would be a perfect time for a cage to get ripped open, Braun to attack Lashley, the Miz to celebrate victory, and then get kidnapped by Dexter Lumis. Spider-Boss says, Triple H's promo on Punk of 2011 still rent-free. Not in CM Punk's mind, but in the mind of a lot of fans. Thank you, Francesca, for subscribing on the YouTube side. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us. And also, we have a subscription on the Twitch side. Ofa, thank you very kindly for subscribing with your Prime account. If you do have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for absolutely free to the Twitch side as well. Thank you kindly, everyone who is subscribing right now and who is continuing to subscribe as well. Now, Ryder says, Vince Russo thinks Miz and Dexter Lumis are in cahoots. That would be weird. Tom says, was WWE right about CM Punk and was the start of his AEW run an act? It was not an act. It was just only a matter of time, in my opinion. CM Punk was a flight risk. I said it at the time. I've said it several times since, as people here will attest. And it's one of those things that it's inescapable. Signing CM Punk was either the best thing they did or the worst thing they did. And we weren't going to know straight away. Hector says, as for myself, not so plugged into AEW, but I feel that whole MJF dressing up as a Joker just to crash an amazing ladder match, just to grab the poker chip from Stokely, gives me 2000s WCW booking vibes. I feel like they could have ended up with Punk MJF without that all happening. I agree that they could have. That doesn't mean that they wanted to. I think they mostly wanted the visual and the double surprise. MJF may have had some promises, is what I'll say. Over, I believe you've already told me where you were on Saturday, but I look forward to the videos, mate. Simon said, why does Tay Conti never wrestle? Because the women's division is not booked very well. Sean says, funny how Miz gets a US title match despite the loss to Lashley last week. Does the K's match for the title main event Raw tonight? I don't think it will. No, I think there's plenty more likely to be main eventing, and I think this particular one is a means to an end to get to someone. AEW fan says, a lesson WWE learned is if you beat a babyface in their hometown, sing a song after. Well, let's just say the ending of that was weird. We've seen stranger things. Or at least I have, all 4 seasons. The Jiddle says, Ricky Stark's booking last night was terrible. How long till he's in WWE? To my knowledge, not that much interest. Billy thinks Dominik should work on his physique. I don't agree. Look at Kevin Owens, a fantastic wrestler. And a lot of people always complain about his physique. Not necessary. Bad Man thinks Sami Zayn should take the belts from Roman. I would not disagree or argue that at all. Welcome, Steve, says, late to the party, watching on delay. Hope you're doing well. Mr. Colohue, doing very well. Thank you, Steve. Welcome to the show. Hope you are having a great time. We have another troll in attendance. Let me just get rid of them. It's probably the same one. Can we get, like, a quality troll? Just one? We've had some really, really crap trolls. This is terrible. James Foster says, what's your thoughts on Jon Moxley? He's a very, very good wrestler, a very, very good promo, a very, very good storyteller, and I will watch him wherever he goes. Ghost says, All Out was pretty good as a show. Some matches should have been cut and some could have been shorter, but overall it wasn't a bad show. It's just a shame that internal drama outshines anything that happened on the show. Indeed. I woke up, I checked Twitter, and all I saw was talk about the post-match media scrum and CM Punk. I didn't even realise for a long time that MJF was involved. Didn't even realise it. AEW fan says, I'd book a segment where talent storm Pierce's locker room, but no world titles, amping the pressure. That could be fun. And welcome, Parker. My game says, the Elite remind me a lot like the Click. They are starting to now. That said, the Click did preside over some of the best wrestling of the era, so there's good and bad there. We currently have 152 viewers and 61 likes. If you've not yet done so, please consider hitting that thumbs up. Every thumbs up almost guarantees more viewers in this show. The more viewers we have, the more subscribers we are likely to gain. The more subscribers we gain, the more likely Tom is to be able to go full time. So please do consider it. Spider-Boss says, Dominik Mysterio's appearance made me remember Eddie's appearance. That was the plan. Steve says, my question today is asking what you think is the ideal length of time for a pay-per-view. As much as I enjoy AEW shows, they are far too long for my liking. I don't mind 4 hour. I prefer 3 hour. I think Clash of the Castle 3.5 was fantastic. I think that was perfect, the exact right amount of time. I think it comes down to how many matches though. Because you can have a bloated 3 hour card, or you can have a barely there 2 hour card. You've got to pace it out right, and I think the variety for Clash of the Castle is what made it work. Joey says, why did Mandy keep the NXT Women's title if she's supposed to be getting called up soon? Good question. I'm sure we'll find out. Spider-Boss says, why did Christian defeat Jungle Boy in 30 seconds last night? Also a good question. I suspect there may have been an injury involved. Simon, I wouldn't say that about Rings of Power, having been made very, very aware of the law, because I'm a John Ronald fan in the extreme. For those who don't know, I am actually a writer, self-published. I've never been properly published, as it were, but I am in the process, and have been for a long time, of writing a fantasy epic of my own, which started out influenced by Lord of the Rings and then very much became its own thing. One day I hope to share some of that here. I just don't think people are that interested right now. Wiggly, welcome, mate. Says, how are you? Had an amazing time at Cardiff, just in Mank at the minute, at a conference. Glad you had a great time, mate. I'm doing good. Glad you had fun. If WWE goes to Glasgow, ask her and we'll go to Glasgow, mate. Absolutely right, Spider-Boss. Everyone turns on Ray. Everyone. Simon, Badman99 was our usual troll. Undoubtedly, he'd have been shouting name redacted and accusing me of things pretty soon after. Sean says, Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell versus Miz and Maurice. Could happen. Mike says, worst thing AEW did was having on-air talent as EVPs. There are different schools of thought on this. Very different schools of thought on this. But I do think there's something to that. Letting people book themselves always has risk involved. Always. I don't believe there's any belt actually connected to Wiggly there. Connected to Goldberg there, Wiggly. Kieran says, also for a company that makes no profit, Tony Khan loves buying rights to popular songs. Gotta spend money to make money. That's the idea that rich people always have. Mr. FDS says, I should have bought the pay-per-view, should have just watched the scrum. Punk confirmed and exposed what Jim Cornette has been saying all along. Yeah, but Jim Cornette also said a lot of weird stuff as well. Barry says, solar power in Blackpool you'll be able to stream for free for almost 3 or maybe 2 hours a week, or at least one nearly. There is actually quite a lot of good solar power options around here that at some point I hope to be rich enough to use. Robert says, do you see Cody Rhodes winning the world title eventually? Yes, I do. Is Triple H a supporter? Yes, he is. AEW fan says, Kevin Nash said CM Punk was a ticking time bomb. A guy with that ego was a matter of time. I agree. Joey says, do you think Nash Carter could be brought back? Nope. Got you, FTS. Got you, Ofa. Spider-Boss says, I'd love to see Bayley's Damage Control stable taking out Alexa and Asuka tonight. I expect that will be in their near future. Traffic says, do Quality and Troll ever go hand in hand? There are some good ones out there, I think. I've seen them, just not in this chat. We just get the same crap. Noob says, the ending of Clash at the Castle did end in a positive way to leave the fans happy in song. Yeah, but it was still weird. Wiggly says, I'm not seeing any trolls here on Twitch either. Having the intellect to figure out how to use Twitch, and all your mods are doing a brilliant job. I don't believe the mods are in attendance at the moment. I'm basically managing it myself. At this moment, when we've got 172 people here, I can just about do that because I've got the goodwill of people watching as well. Whereas, as we get busier, that may not be a thing. I may need more mods. Kuro says, is Braun Strowman in the right shape to go after any title at all? Good question. Nobody knows. Thomas says, when would you say would be the earliest that we could see Malakai Black or Jon Moxley return to WWE? That depends. 1, if Malakai Black has been released. 2, if Jon Moxley has had his contract expire. Tom says, what's your go-to karaoke song? I actually do have a go-to karaoke song. That's a great question, Tom, and I'm really grateful you asked it. It is All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix, particularly sung in the style of Bear McCreary from Battlestar Galactica. There is like a 2-minute solo though, so I do just stand awkwardly on stage for a while. I have to be loud to be good. It's one of those things. Noob says Ruby Soho was injured by Tay Conti during 0 Hour last night. I did not know that. The rain has just arrived. I apologise if the stream staggers at all. Knight Rider says, I hope AJ Styles gets more of a prominent role on Raw. He's going to be used more. That has been guaranteed. Mike says, drop the Macho Man elbow on that like button. That. I mean, maybe. Maybe. Sean says, why do I think Bobby Fish attacked Roderick at Worlds Collide? I don't think that was the case. I think Damon Kemp attacked him. Baron, you've said that so many times. I've seen it. I've chosen to keep going past it. Joey says, is Karrion Kross going to be the next feud for Drew? That is exactly what I expect to happen, yes. Matthew says, when is Roman Reigns' next title defense? Saudi Arabia or Survivor Series? Saudi Arabia. AEW fan says AEW is obsessed with WWE. Would not be surprised if WWE posters are on the walls. I guarantee you they watch it, but so do quite a lot of WWE wrestlers watch AEW. That is loud. We're going to leak. So Jizzle says, Clash was such an easy watch, everything had time to breathe. The half-hour slots were beautifully paced. Camo, I've answered that several times. Now Rider says, Drew owes Solo a receipt, it would seem. Perhaps a Claymore is coming Solo's way. Well, Solo's going to be there. Roman, maybe not. Simon says, Roxanne's still taking the title off NXT. Again, the whole time I've said that's what I think is going to happen. Billy says, I legitimately thought Theory got knocked out. That is coming down hard. Theory sold it extremely well, I agree. Sean says, would Moxley go to Saudi Arabia? Yeah. Spider-Boss says, Shelton Benjamin tweeted, now Dominik can hang out with Rhea after Dominik turned on Ray. I mean, you have to earn it. You have to earn it. Oh, cool, Mike Games. That sounds like great fun. Which musician, if I may ask? Code says, anything new on Bray? Nope, I've reported everything I know about Bray Wyatt in previous videos to this one. Hector says, with Tony Khan saying in a recent interview he expects AEW to gross over 100 million in 2022, I assume that's before cost of the performers, rights to music, etc., because it's never turned a profit. You may notice he said gross, not net. He also didn't use the word profit. Can you guys hear that? Because that is loud. Just bear with. Jesus Christ. That's fair, Wiggly, that's fair. Joey says, do you have any news on Bret? I've already mentioned that. Robert Goff says, Punk out here thinking he's 90s Bret Hart when in reality he's a drug-free 90s Shawn Michaels. Wow. That is brutal. Wiggly says, do you see EO becoming women's champ soon? No, not soon. Nellis Welcome says, I agree. I mean, now Young Bucks and Kenny held themselves to a trios title. Told care about Hangman, but don't care about Hangman, but Dark Order should have gotten the trios. I won't necessarily say that one person should or shouldn't get something, but I do think that it's a difficult position for someone to be in when that's the situation that we've landed in. Yeah, no being the elite just yet. Good says, I don't think Punk would be cheered anymore. Heel turn imminent. Not an intentional one, I tell you that. Appreciate that, Wiggly. I'll consider it. I will recap once I've caught up Matthew, which actually is not that many comments to catch up with just now. Noob says, you think Asuka and Io Sky will be a dream match at WrestleMania in Hollywood? Nope. Simon says, it's EC3's promotion, control your narrative, now in serious trouble after losing Strowman. It's in exactly the same situation it was beforehand. Nobody cares about it and nobody is watching it. Yep, I'm a Hendrix guy. Wiggly, I'm a Hendrix guy. Welcome, AMC. How you doing, mate? How you doing? Bailey says, did the use of a post-match press conference cause a lot of the friction we're hearing today in AEW? Given the flight risk and open mic is never a good idea. Yeah, that is exactly the situation. Exactly the situation. You've got to be careful. I said flight risk. I continue to stand by it. I don't know how to phrase this gently. We have not heard the last from CM Punk. Oh, Tom says, big love to everyone that has chanced my interview with our fearless leader. For those who aren't aware, my pinned comment on YouTube right now is a link to an interview that Tom Talks Rubbish conducted with myself. Please do check it out and support the Tom Talks Rubbish channel. And also, we do talk about a lot of the process here. Honestly, it was a while back. I can't really remember that much of what was discussed, but I'm always proud of the interviews that I take part in. John Mellencamp, I do know that name, Mike. You guys can hear it. Wow. Okay. Let's calm down a little now. Riyadh says, sorry I'm so late to stream. Do you think that Braun Strowman is going to come back tonight? To recap on Braun Strowman, he is expected to be there. He is not on the internal rundown because Triple H and the WWE are aware that the internal rundowns keep getting leaked. So they've decided to basically hide a lot of what's actually happening. Good question, Joey. I think she'll return soon, and I think Naomi will as well. Michael says, the last thing I care about as a fan, and that was my gate, is how much money the promotion is making. Just put on a good show. That's all I care about as a fan. I agree. I absolutely agree. Jesus. Yeah, that might be what we're getting, Simon. Ofa says, worst part of Clash at the Castle is that I ruined my vocal cords only for another screwy main event finish. We all knew it was coming, mate. We all knew it was coming. Spider-Boss enjoyed Bayley pinning Bianca. I agree with that. I think it was the right call. Michael says, I don't like trios matches. And I don't like Kenny and the Young Bucks as champions. Why would they not? And I imagine there's a bit more to come there. Knight Rider says, CM Punk has buried more people than The Undertaker. Not impossible. Not impossible. Connor says, I'm not really looking forward to Strowman coming back. I completely agree. Also, hi Connor. I don't think I actually said hi to you earlier. Welcome, mate. Digital says, is Becky on her way back soon? Yep. Hector says, I'm not one to take sides, but from all indications, it doesn't seem like Colt Cabana ever aired the Punk situation like Punk did. Mentioning his mom and the fact that he helped him financially just seems too far. Certainly a lot was exposed. Too much for me. I don't want to sit here and say that anyone can't vent. He clearly was venting, but I don't think that was a forum for it. Wiggly. I don't entirely believe that Napoli aren't going to smash us, I'll say that. Sean says, would Bayley versus Bianca for the title main event Extreme Rules? It could. Under Triple H, that's very much a main event worthy match. Not a worry, Tom. You had me worried there a little bit, but we got there. And honestly, I'm just happy I can help your channel grow. I did really enjoy the interview. And yeah, if you want to do more in future, let's see if this interview is successful and maybe work something out in the future. Sounds good to me. Wiggly says, what do you genuinely think of Haaland bias aside? I think he's fantastic and he always has been. I've never said otherwise. James Jones, welcome, says, welcome to WCW 2000 all over again. If it's Punk or the management, things are not looking good for showing tired signs of doing all over again. I will say it once again, there are direct comparisons to WCW, Rampage Thunder, but a lot of this comes down to CM Punk. There was no CM Punk in WCW. There's some Thunder. There's some Thunder. No worries, Riyadh. No worries at all. Michael says, I think Punk is completely right about the EVPs, but he should not have made this point in that scrum. Better place and better time to talk about it. That I certainly agree with. KJ says, another random thing, doesn't Edge have such a presence when he enters an arena? The UK certainly did what they could to bolster his arrival. Michael says, Britt and Jamie need to split up soon after what happened in the match. Well, if they're teasing it, it needs to happen. DCJ, okay, same question. James says he can't be EVP and talent at the same time, and Team EVP seems threatened by Punk. There's a lot going on there. They may seem threatened because Punk is threatening them. That's all I'll say. Wrestler Fan says, has there been any matches either pitched or discussed or even set in stone for WrestleMania 39? As of yet, the only ones that have really been discussed are Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. This has changed slightly, and there is a possibility that now it's Bayley versus Becky. Also discussed is Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. Outside of that, matches discussed are matches such as, for example, Ray versus Dominik. But there's a lot of change right now, so nothing is confirmed. And Knight Rider says, Sheamus has banger after banger and is still underrated. Criminal. Absolutely criminal. To recap, after saying some very, very strongly worded things, in a post-All Out media scrum, CM Punk returned to Backstage to be immediately set with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Arguments ensued. CM Punk threw the first punch, and the four of them, I should say, were split up by 7 or 8 people and some security that had to be called in extra just to make sure. Hangman Page has not had a direct discussion with CM Punk as of yet. Some people are very genuinely upset with Tony Khan as well for not stepping in. Chris Jericho also was a target of CM Punk. A lot of people right now not happy with Punk at all. There was also a little bit about the potential for Aleister Black and Jon Moxley to be leaving AEW as well, but by all means rewind and check out that bit too. Will says, remember when Big Swole said AEW had no structure backstage and AEW fans said she was lying? I wouldn't say all AEW fans said that, just to be clear, but some certainly did. Yeah. Wiggly, it all happened. The amount of things... Do you remember when Cody leaving was all the work? Do you remember that? James said, the whole situation reminds of WCW 2000. Byron, no it isn't. The Rock is not signed on for any matches with the WWE. It is not 100% happening at WrestleMania 39. Camo says, do you think there's a strong likelihood of The Rock facing Roman? Nope, The Rock has not been signed on for any matches in the WWE at this point in time. Until he is, nothing is set. Nothing. Because you've got to remember, how many people were saying The Rock versus Roman would happen at this year's WrestleMania? At last year's WrestleMania? This is one of those moments where you say it's not happening until it's confirmed. KJ, I'm not exactly sure what Adam Page did to Punk. I just know Punk was not very happy with him. Sean, I'm going to be really simple. People hate Alexa Bliss. She could literally do nothing and people would hate her. It's disgusting and it needs to end. That's all I'll say on that one. We are going to wrap up there. We have been live for an hour. We peaked at, let's have a quick look, 163 viewers and 79 likes. We are very nearly at 1,000 views. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who joined us. The channel continues to grow and these shows continue to be a whole heap of fun. If you missed out on the news, just click rewind and catch up. And please don't forget to check out my interview on the Tom Talks Rubbish channel, which is a pinned comment on YouTube. I will be back on Friday for Spoiler Warning and our SmackDown Watch Along, unless some big news breaks in the meantime. Until then, I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.